Now, more than 100 of the UK's most high-profile disabled people have signed an open letter to the Prime Minister calling for cuts to disability benefits to be abandoned. The screenwriter Jack Thorn, who co-wrote Adolescence, the actress Liz Carr and the comedian and writer Rosie Jones are among the campaigners who argue that the government's plan to reduce eligibility for personal independence payments, or PIP, and the health component of universal credit is a matter of, quote, survival and basic human rights. Well, let's speak now to Mik Scarlet, the broadcaster, musician and access and inclusion expert, who's one of the signatories to this letter. Mik, welcome to the programme. Explain to me then why you have signed this letter.
Well, I signed it because I'm very confused about this entire policy. PIP, especially, is not an out-of-work benefit. So I can't see how changing the way PIP is awarded will get anyone into work. It's actually a benefit that helps pay towards the extra costs of being disabled. And I know that Scope recently did one of their fantastic surveys that found out it works out about £1,000 a month more expensive to be disabled. I mean, I use a wheelchair. It's quite an expensive one. It's about £6,500 with a power attachment that also costs £6,500. So you're talking £12,000, £13,000 for my chair to get about. And while that's not a regular outgoing, it's still a considerable sum if you then think about all the other things that I might have to buy to be able to live day to day.
Yes.
That I wouldn't if I wasn't disabled. And I get that despite working because it's nothing to do with work. So I don't understand how attacking that benefit will get anyone into work anyway. It's a complete myth.
I'll come to what the government say in a moment or two, but just briefly, what do you fear? What do you fear most if this package of reforms actually goes through and are implemented?
Well, I mean, I suppose, I'm lucky I work. It may mean I have to consider how I work and how often I work. But for many people, it's the difference between living and starving. You know, so many people I know and have spoken to about this use their PIP to pay for things that really it's not for food, for stuff that just day-to-day living. It's meant to be the extra cost. It's not meant to cover the cost. And the idea, you know, daily costs, it's the idea that if we cut this and we cut universal credit's health element and at the same time also cut access to work, another benefit that they're attacking, all of these mean that it will be harder for disabled people to work,
yes,
not easier. And I think that's the key theme is, please, all the statistics, I've got a whole page of them in front of me, but I think the key thing is this is not how you get disabled people into work. I'm very lucky. Part of my job, I work for the charity Phab. Here it is, there. And I'm the CEO. I've implemented an inclusive working practice for all of our staff.
Yeah.
Now, that means you can work from home, you have flexible working, and you have output-based working. So rather than how many hours have you been in the office, it's how much have you done the things I told you to do.
Sure. Let me just put
that
you...
way of working.
Let me ask you and put to you what the government says, because they point in a debate like this to the extra £1 billion to help people with disabilities get back into work. They also point to the right to try system where you actually don't lose benefits if getting a job and it doesn't work out. Why is that not enough? And also let me tag on another thought, which is other G7 countries have got the numbers back to work to pre-pandemic levels. We haven't, and our welfare bill is going up. So why do you think that is actually happening?
I mean, firstly, I'm very intrigued that the way of getting our national debt and our books balanced is to attack people who are disabled. It's a strange way of doing it. But I think the key thing is there are some great ideas about getting people into work, but PIP isn't anything to do with it. So they'd still be entitled to PIP if they got a job anyway. So it makes no sense. And to say that, oh, well, we've got a lot of people who are recovering from COVID or whatever. One of the big issues is a lot of the right-wing media actually did a lot of publicity around who was entitled to get PIP. So actually, a lot of people have claimed it that didn't know they could claim it. Normally, the amount of benefits that go unclaimed is far more than the amount of fraud by billions of pounds.
But in terms of that issue of the welfare bill, just the size, the way it's grown, do you accept that the government has to tackle that?
Yes, but the thing is, you don't take money away from people to make them go to work. What you do is you create an environment where you can go to work, and then they'll sign off the benefits. And again, it wouldn't affect PIP, because PIP you're entitled to whether you work or not. So the entire speech and the rhetoric around this makes no sense to us, because it's not about, they're attacking a benefit that has nothing to do with going to work. So that's the key, is we, people like myself, all the people that have signed the letter, we want to help the government get it right. We want to help to get disabled people into work. It's something I've spent my whole life trying to achieve, but it isn't the way to do it. You can't give someone a stick if there's nowhere for them to go and there's no carrot. And that's the point, is create an environment, a society where we can work, where we can get on a train when we want to, where we can get on a tube or a bus, when we can get into an office or a place of work without it being difficult, when HR understands how to make what is legally required, reasonable adjustment, available to us, and then we'll be at work. Some will never, ever work, but many of us could if we were in the right environment. Taking money away from us won't make us work. It will just make us starve.
Mik Scarlet, we have to leave it there, but thanks for joining us on today's programme. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you.